My parents were
No.
like very supportive. Even they were very cautious and like any parent, like any good parent would be,
Right.
like, are you sure this is the right decision?
Right.
But yeah, definitely. Like, I mean, when you first start out, I think that's like the first step in that motivation is like, all right, I'm going to prove everyone wrong and I'm going to prove myself right.
Yeah.
And then, I think there's other motivations beyond that.
For sure. Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of Perks and Paving, your favorite podcast here on One Team Media. We have Mark with us as always, and today we have a special guest, Eli Stoehr.
Just like grocery store.
Just like grocery store. I kind of panicked there for a second. I was like,
how do I say it again?
Store. Yeah, but so glad that you could join us.
Yeah. I'm happy to be here. This is exciting.
Yeah.
This is my first time on the Perks show.
I know, which is kind of hysterical because you've been the main part of our transition into this, one of the main parts in us in the industry. So
But let's start with you and how you got associated with the Pavement Group and where that story started.
So I met Brian Hess, our CEO. Met him, I don't know, 8 years ago or so at a self-performing company in Wisconsin. Just kind of by chance, I walked in one day at Wednesday at 6:30 in the afternoon and happened to meet him. He probably shouldn't have been there at the time, but it was just kind of by chance, fate, whatever you want to call it. That company was sold, and eventually Brian started the Pavement Group, and really it was like year one. I was all in. It's funny, I don't remember if it was Brian or Mike called me, but one of them called me. And they're like, "Hey, Red Dog, what are you doing this summer?" And my immediate reaction was not asphalt. And here I am. So,
so at that time you were still in school though, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
And you were going to school where?
The University of Wisconsin River Falls.
Okay.
Tiny little college.
Okay. And what were you studying there?
So sales and marketing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I figured, after 2.5 years there going for sales and marketing, it really didn't make sense to pay as much money as I was paying to learn something that really can be learned in the field. And not everyone's going to follow that exact path, but for me, I was like, it doesn't make sense. I'm going significantly in the wrong direction in income and debt and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
I might as well learn it in the field.
So going off the normal trajectory of, you ended college a little early.
Mm-hmm.
Did your parents, how was that like as you transitioned out of, being a college student and into the field, and you just knew you wanted to like dive deep in and, work with Brian and, learn in the field?
Yeah. So my parents at first, they were, they told me, well, what are you going to do? I said, I'm thinking about, leaving school. And they're like, well, what are you going to do if like this doesn't work out? And my immediate response was, oh, I'm going to figure it out. And that's on me.
Yeah.
And I told them, that is on me. If I can't figure that out, it's not on you. So don't feel any pressure. Don't feel like this is my decision.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if it doesn't work out, it's on me.
Did you feel like that kind of, like that mentality of you wanted to prove them wrong, made you work even harder?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I think when everyone starts out, right? Not that my parents doubted me at all. My parents were very supportive. Even, they were very cautious and like any parent, like any good parent would be, like, are you sure this is the right decision?
Right.
But yeah, definitely. Everyone, I'm like, when you first start out, I think that's like the first step in that motivation is like, all right, I'm going to prove everyone wrong and I'm going to prove myself right.
Yeah.
And then, I think there's other motivations beyond that.
For sure.
But definitely when I first, dropped out, it was like, I'm going to prove everyone wrong that, school for me is not the right path.
Yeah.
So, you're 26 years old now. You became the head of sales, director of sales for the company last year. So being relatively young, what are some of the challenges that you've faced in your new leadership role that you can talk about with us?
Sure. So just being young as a whole, it's challenging, right? Because you're working with. I was the youngest person in the company up until this past year for 4 years, right? So to be in a leadership role, it's for me it was really just overcoming. Hey, can I do this? Am I the right fit? Am I a fraud? Right? Thinking like that, having that head trash all the time.
Imposter syndrome.
Yeah, imposter. That's the word for it. Imposter syndrome. I definitely had to overcome that early. And as soon as I started producing results, I was able to overcome that. I'm like, okay, I can actually do this year in and year out. You know, from a sales standpoint, from connecting with people, like I actually have things that people want to listen to. And like, that's something that like, even to this day, I'm like, I don't know if people want to listen to me.
Yeah.
And then I talk to people, they're like, yes, like, of course, we want to listen. You have knowledge, like
Right.
you have things that you've learned. But that's probably the biggest thing, is that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of great mentors and a lot of great people around me. And our team is incredible too. Like, you know, they don't look down on me because I'm younger than everyone on the sales team.
I will vouch for, I mean, you and the way you carry yourself and the knowledge you have, I think that alone, like I respect you, and I want to learn from you, and you know, soak up as much as I can to, you know, hopefully be on a similar path to you within the company. And I know I see you as a leader, and but I know, being young, I know when you were working in physical therapy and you were thinking about taking over in a management role with people who were a lot older than you, that was a struggle that he had faced. He was like, I don't know like how I'm going to navigate that, and I think it's hard, but you've done it so well, so you should be very proud of yourself.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, you've accomplished so much in such a short period of time. Kind of talking with Ed Milet and having like the highlight reel of your life. What are some of your highlight reel moments that you've had so far?
Yeah,
Great
that's a great question.
question.
Yeah. So definitely getting married in October of 22. That's a big one. Buying a house with Angel and remodeling it. That's a big one. I would say moving out to Pittsburgh and just like taking that leap of faith and, you know, growing into this role. That's not one specific thing, but it's like the process of all of that has been a big highlight reel for me. You know, having all these people around me that, you know, support me, and all the people around me that, you know, I have great mentors, and, you know, they set me straight when I need to be set straight. And, you know, to be able to show up every day and watch people like Paige grow into the roles, and Saps, you know, grow into his role. Like literally everyone on the sales team, like that is a highlight reel for me to watch you guys, like, you know, grow into new roles that you wanted to get into, make life-changing money for you and your family, and continuously grow, you know, personally as well. So
You mentioned obviously early on, like the imposter syndrome, like, am I deserving this role? What does the lowest point look like? What was a point where you're like, oh my God, I am in way over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I am the wrong person. What did that look like for you? If there was like one instance or one moment where you're like questioning it severely.
Yeah, I don't know if there's really an instance where I felt like, oh my goodness, I'm way in over my head. But there's definitely times where I've shown up the day to day, and I'm like, you know, I've got all these results to show for it, but I'm like, is it really? Like, is this real? Like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I sold X amount of millions of dollars. I'm like, did this just happen? Like, can I do this again next year?
Yeah.
You know, as I transitioned into leadership and leading our sales team, like, you know, just like, hey, can I take the things that I've learned and transfer them into them? I'm so young. You know, these guys have been in sales for 15, 20 years. You know, just those types of thoughts. So there's not really one specific scenario where I was like, oh my goodness, I'm in way over my head. And I attribute that to, again, my mentors. I attribute that to Todd. I attribute it to Mike, to Brian, to always course correct me when I needed it. Like, hey, focus on this instead of that. So there's not really one exact thing, but definitely, like, I've had those thoughts of like, is everything I did last year, was that just a fluke? Like, can I do it again next year? And then I did it again next year. And then I did it again the next year. Yeah. And then I was able to transfer that knowledge and what I did to other people on the team. And now I'm at a point where, like, okay, like, this is proven. I followed the process. It works. I am not an imposter. It is working. And, you know, the results just show for it.
Yeah, and you do such a great job at, I tell you all the time that, you know, Eli is like the best teacher, and he does it so, like, he never makes you feel like he's talking down. Like, he's just such a good he's so good at explaining things, and even if he has to tell you multiple times, like, he tries to, like, explain it in a different way, and just really make a clear picture of, like, what what you are supposed to be doing. And because sometimes it does take multiple times. Like for me, like I'm coming into this role, completely new to the industry. Like I need all of the knowledge, and sometimes stuff doesn't soak in first time. So I appreciate you like extending that knowledge and not being afraid to like share it multiple times, because that's honestly what people need. And I don't know, you just do such an amazing job at guiding us to, where we need to be. So,
Well, thank you.
But speaking of that, so obviously there's tips and tricks that you have. You've been very successful, within, a short period of time. Within, the company's been around for 5 years now, correct?
Yeah.
Rolling up on 6 years soon.
2018, yep.
Yeah.
March of 2018.
So what would you say were the main tips and tricks that you implemented into your day-to-day here that have helped you grow at the pace that you have?
Yeah, so I would say there's going to be a couple of
That's okay. Lay them on us.
First one being just asking for help from the people that I look up to. Asking Brian, early on it was Brian, and I'm like, hey, like, what do I need to do in a day-to-day, to be successful and to grow into a sales role? It was way before I was even in sales. Like, told him, like, I want to be paid on my results. Like, how can I make this happen? So being bold enough to ask the question, a lot of people just sit in their chair and wait for go and ask the person that you look up to, what does it look like to grow into this role?
Right.
Second thing, I always tell people, I plug this on every single podcast I think that I do, but take a selfie video, man. What is a selfie video? Selfie video is like a 30 to 45 second, maybe a minute max video where you take your phone, turn the camera around, and it helps build relationships. And it's just a 30, 45 second video that you send to somebody personally. Like if I was sending to Paige a selfie video, turn the camera on, hey Paige, just want to let you know I really appreciate you, did a great job this week, and look forward to seeing you on Monday.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Where did you learn that? Like, did you learn that from someone else? Was it something you read, something you saw? Like,
yeah,
so trial and error?
from Brian.
Okay.
And I know Brian learned it from somebody else. But like nobody does it.
Yeah.
Nobody does it in this industry. And if you can, I've always done it with contractors. I've done it with clients. I've done it with team members. Like a lot of these people that we work with are remote. They don't live and work in Pittsburgh, right? So like, how do you build a relationship with somebody when you see them a couple times a year, if that? Well, video is huge. Everyone's texting, everyone's calling, everyone's emailing. But if I can put a genuine video out to somebody that's direct to them, that's going to speed up the process of that relationship, and it's going to build that relationship even more. So those are like two of the biggest things. The third thing is kind of just a fundamental of, my thought process. Like you have to be a role before you can actually be in a role. You have to act it. And I'm not saying fake it till you make it. I'm not a huge believer in, that saying of fake it till you make it. But it's more of like, if you want to make $100,000 and you're making 50 right now, like you have to work like you make the $100,000.
Yeah.
And eventually that will catch up to you. You have to do the activities. You have to wake up at the times that, people wake up. You can't be sleeping in until 8 o'clock, 9, whatever time, right? You might have to do a little bit of work outside of your normal hours. So those are some of the biggest fundamental and tactical things that's helped me.
So we've talked about the past, what got you to the Pavement Group, where you are now, and now looking forward into the future as the head of sales. What are some 2 or 3 goals that you see yourself setting forward for the sales team, for the company?
Personal.
That excludes the golf simulator you and I have both talked about. But,
yeah, so we have a certain revenue goal that I pitched to Brian. I said, if we hit this revenue goal, we're getting a golf simulator in the office, right? And he said, yup. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
No, we have some lofty goals.
That's actually been discussed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah,
Oh.
Brian. It's out there. It's out there. It's
Gotta
not
put
on
it out
paper
there into
yet.
the universe and let it.
We're gonna put it out. I don't know where we're gonna put it. Brian said, "I'll build a building for this golf
Oh my
simulator."
gosh.
No, yeah, we have some lofty goals at TPG, and in turn, I have some pretty big goals myself this year. I just really hope to watch, people like yourself and Paige and other folks on the sales team continue to grow into this role. I want to bring on a handful of other, new salespeople, and I want to get a few other people, in TPG on a sales track if that's what they want to get to, within the next 1 to 2 years to move into that sales role. Personally, at TPG, in the next handful of years, I would love to become the CRO here. Just throwing that out into the universe. It's one of my goals. I would love to oversee the revenue of TPG and everything that we do here. One Team Media, all of it, right?
Wow. That'd be awesome.
It really excites me, and also this year, a goal of mine is to start a family with Angel. So,
Hell yeah.
Hoping for that.
Good stuff. Speaking of Angel,
Yeah.
let's go back to like how she played that important piece of getting us to where we are today in these seats right here. Yeah. So it's just funny. We talk about it all the time. It's like everything in your life is so like everything happens for a reason, and I truly believe that. Like us leaving Florida, I wasn't ready to leave Florida when we did, but we left. And even though I was the one who kind of started that, but you guys had to move to Pittsburgh at, a similar time. You got a job where you were looking to hire a secretary, and then you hired Angel. I mean, it's just how many pieces have to fit together perfectly for something to work out. And it's just pretty incredible that not just one, but both of us are here today.
Yeah.
Because of Angel. So
they always say that like sports is a game of inches, right? Like you're a big sports fan, Mark. Like every game comes down to usually inches.
Yeah.
And I think life is the same way.
Yeah.
Like it's a game of inches of, if there was something slightly off, we probably would have never met, and you guys probably wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
If there was something slightly, I might not have ever met Brian even.
Yeah.
So.
If you would have never met Brian, I mean, it's just like so crazy to think about, all the things that have to work out perfectly. But yeah, I mean,
glad it worked out the way it did. That's for sure.
I mean, I know when he came home that day and was like, yeah, Angel thinks you should apply at the Pavement Group. I'm like, okay. I mean, at that point I had been applying to medical sales jobs and not really getting the feedback and opportunities that I had hoped for. So at that point I was just looking to dive into something that gave me the experience. And obviously I didn't come in a sales role, but I knew that you guys would provide me the opportunity to work into that, which is all that I was really looking for. Like I didn't care that no one wanted me to come in directly into the sales role. I just wanted someone to provide me the experiences. I'm like, I will take the information that you give me and hopefully grow into that role. But you guys were the only ones that, were willing to take that risk. So,
well, I would say you were willing to take the leap of faith to
True.
like literally go away from a career that you were in for 5, 6, 7 years, something like that.
like 4.5.
Take a little bit of a pay cut even to dive into the PC role, which isn't even a sales role yet, right? With the plan that, all right, if you crush the PC role, here's the sales track.
Right.
So you bet on yourself, right? You
had to.
You had to. And that dude right there supported you the whole way.
Yeah.
And now he's here. But like you took the leap of faith, betted on yourself.
Yep.
And it's worked out greatly. And like that's the biggest thing, like to anyone that's out there that's listening, like I would just, bet on yourself.
Yeah.
Like bet on yourself.
You have the ability to make your life whatever you want it to be. So I mean, like you said, bet on yourself. As long as you put the work in, eventually if you put in the work, you're going to get the results that you want. So, but yeah.
Well said.
So any other things that you would like to share with One Team Media Network on sales, the upcoming year?
Yeah. Well, first of all, the best podcast around is Talking Lots.
You can be fever too. It's all right.
Quick.
You're the first one that has said it other than us. So
That said that's the best podcast?
yeah, that's what I keep saying. All you have to say is that it is, and then like no one knows.
Just bet on yourself.
Just bet on yourself. As long as you say it's the favorite.
It's the best podcast.
it's the
Hey,
best.
we did the Hot Ones challenge.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, that was great.
I
Yeah,
didn't
that was a
watch
good
it
one.
yet.
It was
The still of like Angel when they're like zooming in. She's
Oh,
just
she's
like
like-
zombied out. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was
So
hot.
what days do Talking Lot episodes drop on the network?
That's a great question.
You don't have a schedule?
I am actually well. We just record them whenever we we
time.
book times and record them. And
Check
like,
out Talking Lots with
special-
Eli Stoehr on the One Team Media channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
Sporadic.
Yeah, I actually don't remember the exact days that they drop. That's a great question. It's funny I don't know that. I want to say it's Mondays, but like we record, like we pre-record all of these, right?
Yeah.
And then we
Don't tell our secrets.
podcasting secrets. But yeah, it is on the One Team channel. I think it's Mondays is when it drops. I think we have to record a handful more, but we try to record them when Todd is in the office.
Is
here
Todd on
in
all of
studio.
them?
Yeah, usually.
Okay.
Yeah. Todd's
Gotcha.
great. He's hilarious.
Oh my gosh.
Great.
The
We should get
best.
him on.
I know. We need to have Todd on. We're working our way around.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for everything you do and being such an inspirational part of our journey and,
Helping out every day.
helping out, guiding us, providing us any, feedback, knowledge, whatever we need to be the best versions of ourselves here. But we are thankful for you and we're looking forward to another great year working alongside you.
Love it. Well,
Thanks
thank you
for
guys.
joining.
Thanks a lot, guys. Appreciate it. Catch us again next week on Wednesday, 8 p.m., One Team Media channel on YouTube. Thank you very much. Love you guys.
See ya.